I am B Charlotte. I am a singer, a songwriter, a self-taught, still learning kind of producer. I am 23 and I'm from Dundee. I sound like I'm on a chat show. And if you've never heard of me before, I guess I'll just explain a little bit about myself. In a pre sort of pandemic world, I've been able to tour and visit lots of different countries and share my music with lots of people, which I feel super lucky for. And I've also worked with one of the biggest record labels, Columbia, which is Sony Music. And I am currently finishing my album, which I wrote last year and I've been recording for the past couple of months. And it's like 90% finished. So I hope to be sharing that very soon. But before I dive into chatting all about songwriting and just talking for a long time, I wanted to know if anyone watching is a singer, a songwriter, or a musician, or none of the above, or if you've written songs before, just write that in the wee. I thought I'd be able to see your faces, but I can't. So just write that in the chat box or in the Q&A, just so we get to know each other a wee bit, if you feel like, as well. So hello, I can see your names now. Hello, Marina. Hello, Jessica from Dundee too. I play and write in a band. Amazing. Jessica's a songwriter. Brilliant. So I guess I've got a bit of a... Hey, Denny. I'm a singer-songwriter for Katie and release my first EP next month. Amazing. That's so exciting. Max, study music, aspiring soul songwriter. Amazing. Hey, Callum. Oh, amazing. So lots of singers. Hello, Andy Mac. How are you doing? Archie, I write and produce too. Brilliant, amazing. Okay, great. So I'm just gonna go through a few things, and obviously if you already know it, then cool. If you don't, then great. If at any point there's something that you want me to chat further on, then put that in the Q&A box, or if there's something that I'm talking too fast, that can happen sometimes. I'm from the East Coast, so we chat a bit quicker. Just let me know. So let's get into it. Hey, Amy. Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. So this is so odd, isn't it? I wish we could see each other. Oh, cool. Right. Sorry, I was just seeing the Q&A. Right. Here we go. So a little bit about my songwriting experience, I guess. I've been writing songs for about 11 years, and in that time I have written I guess many different kind of ways, on guitar, on piano, starting with production, starting with melody, starting with lyrics, writing completely by myself, and then writing with one other person or 3 other people. But to be honest, my favourite way to write still is just by myself, me and my guitar. I'm an introvert at heart. So I like to write by myself on guitar, and without being too cheesy and whatever, like, it is a saviour for me, like, writing music and making music. It's the way I can express what I'm thinking up here, and I wouldn't know what I would do without it, really. And I know that's kind of getting a little bit deep for right at the start of this workshop chat, but I guess that is what songwriting is, isn't it? It's, for me, it is all about the feelings and emotions and all that stuff. I started off just writing, as I said, writing songs by myself, and then I was very nervous and very shy to sort of write with other people and collaborate with other people, because I'd never done that before. And it wasn't that I didn't want to collaborate, it was more so that I was just nervous about putting myself out there and having to, like, expose your feelings and tell people stuff, that what you think. But since about sort of 2017, I've done lots and lots of co-writing sessions with other songwriters and artists in London, Sweden, Berlin, Nashville, Thailand, which is mad to be able to say now. But so I've done that, and sometimes it's great sometimes it's really easy and sometimes it's really fun, and other times it can be really tricky, and that is just the nature of songwriting, I guess, and especially the nature of collaborating with people. A lot of times I would go to these sessions, I'd be writing with complete strangers, so not only are you trying to get past the awkward sort of introductions and get to know somebody, you have to write a song with them. So yeah, so there's that. And then I've also been to quite a few songwriting camps as well, one in Nashville and one in Thailand included in that. And if you don't know what a songwriting camp is, that is basically when there's a group of songwriters, say maybe 15 or 20 songwriters or however many, and each day you get put into a different group and you have to write a song basically. And usually it's to a brief. So for example, when I was in Nashville, one of the briefs was to write a Christmas song, which I didn't do actually. I secretly kind of wanted to, but we didn't get that in my group. And then the other briefs can be like writing songs for other artists and stuff like that. So that can be a fun way to also, I guess, get to know people. There aren't loads of songwriting camps in Scotland, to be honest. There's been quite a few, which is great. But I think it's definitely something. There's so many songwriters out there that I think we could do a bit more. So last year I ran a songwriting camp, an all-female songwriting camp in Dundee. That was the first of its kind in Scotland, actually, and it was really great. And throughout my time of collaborating and co-writing and working with different producers, I didn't get to work with that many women, and I found that really frustrating. And I would keep asking people, I want to work with other women. And so I just kind of took matters into my own hands, I guess, and gathered up some of my favourite Scottish artists and songwriters, and we did a songwriting camp, which was great. And yeah, that is something that I'm going to be doing more of this year. So if anyone here would like to be a part of that, then I can maybe put my email address or my sort of social handles in the chat, so you could send me a message if you want to be involved in something like that, because I would love for more people to come and give it a go. So yeah, that is like a brief history of my songwriting life, I guess. I'm not claiming to be a songwriting expert. Keith just asked me to come and chat about it, so I said yes, and I'm just going to go through a few things that I think about when I'm writing songs, and yeah, we'll see what we think. Let me just check the wee Q&A box. Do you have to pay for those songwriting camps? No, you don't. So that's the big thing, because I know how difficult it can be to get into music anyway, and especially, yeah, everything always costs so much money, doesn't it? So no, you definitely don't have to pay for songwriting camps. That's what I'm gonna make sure about. All right, so I'll answer some more questions as we go. Okay, so we're gonna go into a bit of like elements of songwriting. I'm just gonna take a drink of water. I feel so awkward because I'm just talking to myself in my room. Anyway, but I know you're there, so thanks. Thanks for being there. So, elements of songwriting. I think one of the biggest elements for me, the main thing really, to be honest, for me about songwriting is the storytelling. And I've usually mostly always liked to use my life or my sort of everyday surroundings and the people that are around me, I guess, to inspire my songwriting. And at the essence of a lot of my songs, even though it might not seem it all the time, is like kind of sadness and confusion and learning and growing up and all that sort of stuff. But I've kind of showcased my songs in a more pop kind of way with the production. And it is proven for some reason that it is easier to write sad songs than happy songs. And I don't know what that says about the world, but it says something, doesn't it? So I'm just going to play a little song. Here's a little song I wrote that I released last year, and this one is called Lights Off. And basically I just wanted to play a couple songs throughout chatting because it makes me feel less awkward if I've got a guitar as well, to be fair, and I just prefer to sing than speak. So Yeah, this is a sort of example, I guess, of a song that I've written from about my own sort of perspectives. I wrote it at a time when I wasn't feeling too great and just, yeah, feeling a wee bit rubbish. And I'm sure we can kind of all relate to that, hopefully, maybe, and a bit unmotivated, I guess. So, yeah, this is Lights Off. Enjoy. Oh, I found the point where I lost it. Oh, I know nothing can bring you home. So I tried to dishearten my problems. Hold tight, we'll shake the can from the storm. I need the lights off, lights off. I'm only dreaming when the lights off. I need the lights off, lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. Don't lie to yourself when you know it's not right to be on edge every day. So tired, I approach it with caution. Slow down, feel the coolness of the wave. I need the lights off, lights off. I'm only dreaming when the lights off. I need the lights off, lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. Yeah, yeah. I need the lights off, lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. I'm only dreaming with the lights off. All right, there we go. So that's a wee bit of my song Lights Off, and as I said, that is, yeah, from, I've always just liked to spill out what is sort of going on in my head, I guess. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've always liked to just get out what is going on in my head and put it into a song, and Lights Off basically encompasses all of that. On a separate note, I am releasing a new kind of version of that at midnight, so, you know, if anyone would like to check that out, then you can. So there's that kind of perspective where I like to sort of take things in real life, and then I also know sometimes it can be hard though to sort of write about your own sort of feelings and thoughts and experiences and like sort of articulate that in a songwriting sense. So I do like to take inspiration from other places too, because it can be just good to get out of your own thoughts sometimes. So a few years ago, I curated a installation for V&A Dundee about some inspiring women from Dundee sort of throughout history. So I researched around 30 women and then whittled it down to 3, sort of my top 3, I guess, and then wrote songs about each of their lives for this installation, and yeah, wrote the song, and then I sort of built up the demo a little bit with production, and then we performed it at the V&A for this event, and that was a few years ago, and then I've never really shared the song since. I thought it could be cool to maybe talk about it here, so without trying to sound like I'm going into history lessons now, but one of those women, one of my top 3 women, I guess, I chose to wrote a song about, was called Mary Brooksbank, and she was a musician and poet and worked in the mills in Dundee for most of her life. And I loved that she was not afraid to speak up for herself and her fellow women, and she turned the chants that women in the mills were singing into songs. And our most famous one is called Jute Mill Song / Oh Dear Me. So I kind of took inspiration from that song, from her story, and made a brand new song, basically inspired by her life and her struggles. And the thing that most sort of connected it for me, like, even if I'm writing about taking inspiration from something somewhere else, whether it's a film or a TV show or someone else, I still like to try and relate it somehow to an experience that I can sort of talk about, and a lot of the things that Mary Brooksbank was talking about many, many years ago is still relevant today. So that's why I sort of picked her. So I'm just going to play a bit of that song as well to, show a song about, from someone else's perspective, someone else's life. So this is called Hard Lines, not to be confused with Paramore's Hard Times, which is a tune. Let me just get the words so I don't forget it. All right, so yeah, this is Hard Lines, a song about the wonderful Mary Brooksbank. If I was a writer, I'd tell her how it is. I'd make books out of our days so they never go to waste. Kicked out of the party, but I'm singing anyway. There's a new king and a new queen, but I will not celebrate, 'cause I'm a troublemaker. Oh dear me, the world is all divided. What are you gonna do about it? How are we gonna make it right? And oh dear me, the world is all divided. What are you gonna do about it? How are we gonna make it right? And I was blind for the time, hard lines. And I was blind for the time, hard lines. If I was a rich girl, I wouldn't need a job. Growing up before my years in the factory, sweat and tears, I'm a troublemaker. Oh dear me, the world is all divided. What are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna make it right? And oh dear me, the world is all divided. What are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna make it right? And I was blind for the time, hard lines. And I was blind for the time, hard lines. Oh dear me, the world is all divided. What are you gonna do about it? How are we gonna make it right? And oh dear me, the world is all divided. How are we gonna make it right? So there we go, that's a wee song about a lovely woman called Mary Brooksbank, and yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you liked it, hope it was all right. Thank you so much. Oh, nice, thank you. Yeah, so I had a few songs from that experience that I haven't shared yet, that I might at some point. So anyway, moving on from me. So you might have seen in the description about this workshop that I have sort of a go-to songwriting template that I've sort of been developing over the past couple of years. So when I started to go and write with other people, I realised quite quickly that sometimes my brain or just my creative juices weren't flowing as much when I was sort of in these situations. So I don't use this all the time, but I do use this sometimes. For me, like sometimes starting to write a song, or I guess write anything from a blank page, can feel a little bit daunting, and it doesn't always make you feel instantly creative, sort of just keep on staring at the page. So in the spirit of the scary blank page, I have created a songwriting template example, which I'm going to share with you in a minute on my screen. And this is just a starting off point with some hopefully helpful tips to guide you and me through the songwriting process, and on the writing process, it is different for every single person. So what works for me might not work for you, and that's totally okay. Like some people want to write songs every day, and some people don't. Some people have bouts of creativity and then nothing. I'm kind of one of those people, to be honest with you. But yeah, so this might not work for you, and that's cool. It just kind of helps me to decompartmentalize all the different parts of songwriting. So yeah, I'll share it with you, and I'm building it up now. I'm hyping it up, and it's probably not worth the hype. So let's do it. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, I am sharing my screen. Hopefully that's all good for you. Just check that we're on, yep, single page. All right. So this is it. This is it in all its glory, I guess we can say. As I said, I am not claiming to have, I don't know, genius knowledge of songwriting. I'm just sharing what works for me sometimes, and I don't have the perfect formula for a song. I'm sure some songwriters do, like Max Martin or Dolly Parton maybe. I think they have some pretty great formulas that seem to be working really well for them. But yeah, for me, the songs that I love the most are just the ones that sort of make you feel the most. So as I've said, I do not use this template. Do not use this template every time when I'm writing a song. Sometimes a song just happens, I pick up the guitar and then it all flows and brilliant, amazing. Like the creativity is there. But then other times you kind of need to put in some groundwork before diving in. And I found it, tried and tested, I found this can help a little bit to just get in there, get on with it. And another thing that I was just going to note is there's sometimes I like to watch or listen to like interviews or podcasts with songwriters and artists and stuff, just to kind of get a bit of their perspective. And one that I really like is And the Writer Is, which is a podcast hosted by a songwriter called Ross Golan, and he interviews like all different types of songwriters and artists as well, like Justin Tranter, Julia Michaels, Jack Antonoff, who's like one of Taylor Swift's biggest collaborators. So it's really great sometimes. Well, it's just really great to get an insight into how other songwriters work. So I've lost the Q&A, lost the wee Q&A box, but hopefully we're all good. I'll just check that we're good. Okay. So we start off with some references. Now, this could be, obviously you don't need to do this in order either. I'm just going through it in order for the purposes of this tutorial. So yeah, starting off with some references, as it says here, that could be songs you like, books you like, films you like, anything that you like, or even things that you dislike, to be honest. That could be cool side to write a song from, things that you dislike, people that you dislike. Oh, sorry, just the notification thing. Yeah, so this can be anything that inspires you, really. And I think it's important to remember that you don't always have to feel inspired to be inspired. Cheesy line there, but it's true. Like the amount of times I've been feeling like I'm not going to be creative, I'm not going to write a song that's decent at least, or just any kind of song. It's sometimes when I've written my favourite songs or just been the most creative. So definitely take advantage of those sort of moments, I guess, as well. So yeah, these can be things you like and how you relate to that topic. And if there's sort of nothing in your sort of personal life or real life that you feel like you can kind of relate to these types of things, then you can just make it up as well. Like you can create your own characters in a setting and think about how those characters interact with each other, and it could be kind of based off real life, but you literally can. I think that's the thing with songwriting that I sometimes forget, is that there is really no rules. Like you can just do what you want to do, and if you're not feeling it from real life, then just make it up. Another song that I wrote a few years ago was inspired by Tonya Harding, who, I'm not sure if you've seen the film I, Tonya, but she was a famous figure skater from America, and there was a big scandal basically with her and another figure skater. And I saw like a video on Facebook or something, and I started writing the song because I was just intrigued by this story because I've never heard of it before. And then the film came out in February, and I went to see the film, and that was from Tonya Harding's perspective. So I went back and sort of rewrote the song and had it from both perspectives of these main characters, which I really enjoyed, because up until that point I'd always just written about myself, or thinking I was writing about myself, I guess. But I really loved getting in the mindset of another person, of another character. So that's just something to bear in mind too. So next up on our little sheet, we have concept ideas. Now this bit for me is literally, before I write a song, usually I just like to blurt out everything that I'm thinking. So some people call that like, word vomit, verbal diarrhea. It's basically like that, but you're writing it down. So just literally every sort of thought that comes into your head, and you just kind of keep writing and keep writing, and it doesn't really matter if this is sort of incoherent or doesn't make sense, because you're going to tidy it all up later. Sometimes it can be good as well to set a wee timer on this bit, so 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, so that like put your phone on silent and just get in that zone, and you're not putting so much pressure on yourself to, I need to write a song straight away. Like, you can just write. And I guess image wise, it's kind of like it's kind of like I don't know, like the creative pipe the creative juices need to start flowing. Do you know what I mean? That's really bad analogy there, sorry, but you just need to sometimes get things out so you can start actually creating what you want to create. I can see the wee Q&A box, but it won't let me click on it here. So yeah, that's the concept ideas, and just go with it, basically. And then following on from that is the sort of concept story. So from what you've written above, if there's sort of key things that you can pull out that you think you then want to base this song around, and sort of base the concept around. I guess you've already touched on it maybe in some of the other panel workshops, but I guess to add like the main component, I've kind of forgot to say, but the main components of a song are the lyrics, chords and melody. So this sort of writing sheet at the moment at the top is kind of focusing mostly on the lyrics at the moment. So yeah, taking what you've got from the concept ideas and breaking it down into what you really want to say, or what sort of emotion you want to convey in each section of the song. So for example, sometimes in I guess like a traditional pop structure of a song, you're maybe in the verse, you'd be setting the scene and introducing the characters or the situation, and then in the chorus sort of get into what you really want to say, basically. I'm just gonna, I was just checking on that. Song Exploder, good podcast, yeah, true. And there's another one actually on there's something on BBC before. Anyway, so now we're moving on to a wee bit of imagery. So I guess that's quite an important part of the songwriting process. I've found it really helpful to have a word bank. So from your sort of concept ideas and your concept story above, pick out some keywords that you think, okay, this could lead to something, or just words that you like, words that you sort of find interesting, I guess. And then I just like to write that word and then write down everything next to it in that same line, what I associate with that word. So if I'm writing a song about heartbreak, then all the sort of words I associate with that, happiness and all those other words that I've put there as well. It can just sometimes, even if you don't end up, I think someone's just started hoovering. How professional. Even if you don't end up using these words in the end, it can just be good to kind of have there as a safety net, especially, as I said, if you are collaborating with other people. You could do these first few steps before you before going into a collaborative situation, so that you feel super prepared and confident. And you can even just do that when you're writing with yourself as well. You could sit down and do these first few steps, and then the next day or the next week, then come back to it and sort of develop the idea. So I like to do that as a word bank. And then I also, I love a good rhyme. So I have a rhyming word bank as well. I guess rhyme, some people love rhymes, some people don't. It's not a necessity in a song. I just quite like it personally. And there's a few different sort of rhyming schemes that you can have, I guess. A couple of sort of common ones are like AAB, AAB, which an example of that would be, I've got a song called Rumours Don't Work. So an example of that scheme is, rumours don't work if the lies still hurt, but I guess you know that. Drag through the dirt, my name on your t-shirt, but I guess you know that. I should have played it, shouldn't I, rather than rapped it, but anyway, there you go. And so yeah, there's a couple of, you can mess around with rhyming schemes. I don't generally tend to overthink or overanalyze rhymes or rhyming too much. I just kind of put it in when it feels natural or feels like the kind of right thing to do. I should add as well, in this whole word bank bit, there's obviously like resources you can use, like thesaurus and rhyme zone and stuff. But I think it's good to try and get what you've got in your head down first, and then you can go to them later if you feel like you're really sort of struggling on a word or a rhyme as well. So what have we got next? Phrases. Here we go. So I guess I don't know what you touched on in the other groups, so I don't want to repeat anything, but a few things. So for phrases, basically, is start to make phrases from these words that you've got in your word bank or the concept ideas above, and then start to think about what section of the song those phrases could fit into. So we're not even on to the sort of full writing out the lyric line yet. We're just sort of putting these words together and finding little phrases. So I've got a wee example there of some words that I just put together from that word bank above, from here, just to kind of start to place things together, because sometimes I think it can feel really final when you have to just put down lyrics. But the great thing about songwriting is you can keep coming back and keep editing it until you feel happy, which I've done many times, I may add. So you can keep editing. Another thing to remember in sort of phrases and imagery is sort of similes and metaphors. I'm not the most technical minded person, so I tend to just write sort of what I'm thinking, but then I will go back and make sure, okay, can my imagery be sort of a little bit better there, or can I be making a bit more of a different kind of metaphor, a more kind of sort of unusual kind of metaphor, than just maybe a sort of like obvious one, I guess. And then we move on to the lyric ideas section. So here, you can take the phrases what you've written above and start to actually put them into a bit of a structure. So I've got a kind of one of the most common sort of song structures in sort of pop music there, which is sort of verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge or a middle eight, and then another chorus. So you could start putting your phrases into that and sort of moving things about. It doesn't have to be the definite finished product or perfect, but sort of writing it down can really help you to see what you need to do next. And it can have any structure you like, obviously, whatever you think sort of works best. I use this structure quite often, to be honest, but sometimes I'll change up from that and just go where the song takes me, basically. So that's kind of like the lyric side of this go-to template. I've probably missed some things out, but anyway, moving on to the next bit. It's sort of more the music ideas kind of thing. So I'd said about this workshop as well, the idea of taking the song sort of off the page and taking it further. So this, as I said at the start of going through this sort of template, you don't need to do it in this order. You could do it in whatever order you like. If you've already got the chords first, or you've even got melodies first, or you've got a production idea first, you can start there and then sort of work your way backwards. I just feel like it can be really helpful sometimes to have a really clear picture of what you want the concept of the song to be before sort of diving in a bit deeper. So with chords, these obviously reflect the sort of mood or the feeling of the song that you want to have. I've wrote major, happy, minor, sad. I know that's an example we probably know, but generally speaking, that's kind of what people tend to do. And it is okay to look at the chords of some songs you like, to use them as a starting point, but the same with lyrics and everything. I guess you can take inspiration from things, but it's so important obviously to not copy it directly, because that could be pricey, and then just start to build your own identity from that. So when I first started writing songs, I listened to so many different types of artists. I listened to like Avril Lavigne, Ed Sheeran, Tracy Chapman, Kendrick Lamar, Pink, Taylor Swift, so many different artists, and I would sort of take a little bit of inspiration from each of those types of artists and then build my own sort of idea of what I wanted to be as a songwriter, or what I wanted to sort of talk about, I guess, in my songs. And then moving on to the melodies, if you've got the chords to begin with, they're obviously a really great starting off point to know what kind of key you want to sing in, or just to know what kind of area of your voice you maybe want to sing in. For me, I'm quite visual when it comes to melodies. So if I've already got words written down, I can kind of see. It sounds weird, but I can kind of see what the melody should kind of do. I guess I don't have a real technical note for note kind of mind, but I can kind of see it a little bit, how I think the melody should go. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, that's just something that kind of works. But a lot of the times as well, I do have the melodies to begin with, and then I try and sort of slot the words in after that. What I find really helpful for finding melodies is just hitting record on voice memo, like the app on your phone or laptop or whatever you use, and just sort of jamming around the chords, or just sort of trying out a few melodies and letting that record for a bit, because then you can go back and sort of see what bits you like and what bits you don't like, and try and sort of piece it together. I think for me, I do find melodies are sort of my favourite part a lot of the time. I don't know if you're supposed to have a favourite part of writing songs, but I think the melodies for me are my favourite part. I love how you can transform words, like everyday kind of mundane kind of words, and make them sound really cool. I guess an example like Titanium by Sia, like that's a word that not many people would maybe think to use. Or another one I was thinking about the other day, the Katy Perry, Do You Ever Feel Like a Plastic Bag? Like that is things that people obviously wouldn't think would work amazingly in a pop song, but it does. And I think one of the big reasons for that is the melody. So you can really mess around with sort of intonation and the way you say those words. Obviously I sing in my Scottish accent, so that does present not problems. Some issues do arise sometimes when it comes to shading. I'm looking at the screen share, when it comes to fitting in the melodies, so to speak. But I think that is, it's one of the most important parts, I guess, for conveying the message of the song. But when all of the parts stick together, then that's the best bit. So the last bit I'm going to go on to on this sheet is the production, and this is I guess like what sort of vibe do you want this song to have? So there's obviously lots of different examples. You could have really minimal sort of electronic production kind of track, or really dancey or acoustic, as well. Like when you are writing songs, if you just want to keep it obviously an acoustic kind of track, or just piano and vocal, then that's great. But if you do want to take it a little, if you feel like you want to add more to it, then there are some things you can use that kind of make that step a little bit easier. And so many times I've been working with producers who have worked with really big artists or really well-known artists, and they are like, they have a song up on Spotify and they're trying to replicate that completely, and it blew my mind the first time I saw that, because I was like, I thought we all had to be original. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's so important to be original. But when it comes to sort of production ideas, it's okay to take inspiration from what other people are doing and not put too much pressure on yourself doing it. But I think it's also all right if you don't know what style of production you want the track to have until after writing it, or even after you've written it. That's totally okay. I've had that so many times when I've written a track on guitar, and then being like, I just don't know how I can visualize this in a way that's different from this. And sometimes that means the song just has to stay like that because that's the best version of itself. Then other times it can be really good to share your song with other people that you trust to see what their opinion is on how the song should sound. But ultimately you will know what's right, and it is sometimes, to trust your gut instincts on that stuff, I guess, is one of the most important things. I started trying out some production stuff about 7 years ago maybe. I started on Cubase with this same interface that I have now, that I've had for years, and it's been everywhere, all over, and it's still going strong mostly. So I started on Cubase, and then I moved to Ableton, and now I'm trying Logic out, which I'm really enjoying. And one thing I just wanted to share was that there's so many sort of free trials of like Ableton or Logic that you can try out for like 90 days, 3 months, which is quite a long time. So you don't have to commit to spending that money. You can just try it out and see what you think and try your own ideas, which I really enjoy doing. And as well, you can have a really sort of simple setup. I've literally got a mic, an interface, a MIDI keyboard, my guitar, and headphones, and that's it, and my laptop, obviously. And that can be all you need sometimes to just get the idea down. But anyway, I've went through the that was the go-to songwriting template, which if anyone would like, I've got copies of that. If anyone would like me to send that over, I could do that. Or I'm sure Keith or Music Plus would send that out as well. So I think ultimately for me, songwriting is about emotions and feelings and putting that into there, whether that's something of your own experience or taking inspiration from someone else's experience. And there really are no rules. And I created that sort of template so it would take a little bit of the pressure off, because sometimes there can be a lot of pressure when you're trying to write a song and you're trying to force the creativity to happen. So it's helped me a little bit, and I hope that by sharing it maybe can help anyone else too. And as I said, I can send that out to anyone if they like. But I guess now we'll maybe move on to some questions. So just feel free to fire some questions in that chat, and I will try and answer them as we go along, and think of anything that I've forgotten to mention as well. Just if there's anything you think I should have mentioned, or anything you think you'd like to know about, then please let me know. I'll just scroll through and see what we're saying. So Adam said, I've always wondered where to start with songwriting camps. Are you invited, and is it through publisher/management? So the songwriting camps that I went to, I was invited by the songwriting camps, I guess. I am not signed to a publisher. So that came through, I think the Nashville one came through a sort of UK music kind of thing. but it was really by going to do sort of songwriting sessions with other people. So a lot of times you might need a publisher or a manager to help you sort of facilitate that. But also what I found really works is honestly reaching out to people online as well, like on Instagram or Twitter. I've met quite a few of my sort of collaborators or people that I'm going to write songs with through Instagram and Twitter, and it can be really nerve-wracking to reach out. Like I get that, but it can be worth it. So yeah, sometimes you do need sort of management or publishers to help, but you can sort of reach out to some songwriters too. I hope that answers that question. Yep, as you said, Song Exploder is really good. Gary Lightbody calls it gibberish. Yeah, that is exactly that. Oh, thanks. What do you do when you have writer's block? It's so tricky, isn't it? I've had periods of time, like months of writer's block before, and it can be so frustrating. And I think for me, I have sometimes just a lot of maybe anxieties around writing songs for whatever reason, or just being creative in a sense. So yeah, it can be really tricky, but I think that what has helped me is to just try and push through it. And sort of, as I mentioned earlier, like usually if I'm feeling just not inspired at all, or just like I'm stuck, then I will just pick up the guitar or mess around with an idea on Ableton or Logic and just try and see it through to the end, regardless of if I think it's good or not. A really big thing about songwriting I find is self-doubt. Like it's really tricky, that, and I feel like no one talks about it too much, but it's definitely a thing that can happen. And yeah, I think is trying to push through it. And the sort of the concept ideas box of the sort of template that I mentioned, I find that process really helpful, to just set a timer and just write out loads of things, where it's in a notebook or on the laptop, and just keep writing until I feel like I can write no more, basically. What are you listening to for inspiration at the moment? What have I been listening to? I can't even think. What new music have I been listening to? My brain has just gone numb. I will come back on that. I mean, I love lots of different types of music. I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift's album Folklore. As I mentioned, I love Kendrick Lamar. Lizzo, I'm a big fan. So many really. And I love also finding other emerging artists that are from other parts of the world that are making music too, and trying to do this as a job. That's my favorite, when I find their music, and I love that too. What's your advice for trying to pair lyrics with music if you've wrote the lyrics first? Pair lyrics with music. Yeah, so as I said, it can work both ways. Sometimes people much prefer to have the music first and the lyrics second. And I do both ways, to be honest. I don't tend to just either always have lyrics first or always have music first. It's just whatever feels right for that song. If I've got a really clear concept idea, then I will stick with that. But I think it's just trying lots of different things, in all honesty. And what kind of mood is the lyrics giving you? What kind of emotions or what kind of sounds do you think that those lyrics are giving you? I try and use that as a starting off point and go from there. How often do you go back and edit, make changes to songs before you know you're finished? All the time, so much. I am a perfectionist to my detriment sometimes. Do you sit with songs for quite a while before you know you're done? Yes, definitely. Like Lights Off, the song I played earlier, I honestly had about 30 versions of that song, which was just, insane. But I guess you know when it's right. I think I had a couple of different producers have a go at that one. I wasn't really happy with the first version, and then we went back. So yeah, I go back and edit quite a lot. And even as I was saying with the album, we're like kind of nearly there, but I'm still going in now, making some lyric edits, some vocal edits, and some production edits, really. I think it's good to be able to go back and edit, but then it's also good to set a deadline and be like, right, I'm finished, this is the best it can be. Yeah, but it is good to go and edit, but it's good to also find a point where you're like, right, this is done, this has to be done. What's the name of the interface you use? It's Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. As I said, I've had it for ages, and you now get better versions of these probably for like a better price, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I've had this for so long and it still works, and it's good for me. So have you noticed your motivation or approach to songwriting changed at all since COVID? Yes, definitely. I mean, I think we can all agree that motivation has plummeted, isn't it, really? And especially now, like, I think we're sort of a year on, and it's, yeah, I did a lot of my songwriting last year, to be honest, at the start of the sort of lockdown, I guess, last March. And then I had, quite a lot of ups and downs of feeling inspired and motivated, and then feeling like, what am I doing? Like, which I guess we all had and have those moments. I don't think my approach to songwriting has changed too much, but it has obviously forced me to just be at home and to not travel around. And I've really enjoyed just writing by myself again, in all honesty. And that was one of my sort of things with the album, that all the songs kind of just have came together from that period of time. So yeah, I've definitely noticed my motivation has changed for sure, but we're getting through it. How can you tell if what you've written is any good? How to get over perfectionism? I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that one, but sometimes you just know, like sometimes you feel, even if to you a song feels really good and to no one else it doesn't, then that's kind of okay in a way as well. But I think you kind of just know. I know a lot of times if I write a song, I think I want to share this with other people, or I want to release this song. I think as well, there's so many songs now from a few years ago that I listen to and I'm like, oh, I don't dislike that as much as I did at the time. I could have just released that. So I think it's trying to not be too hard on yourself, and it is good to get opinions from other people as well. But as I said, like people you trust, trusted ears is what I like to call them sometimes. Some ears that you trust to know that they're giving a good, honest opinion. But you can also take that with a pinch of salt as well. If I always want to bring my music to life, do you know what I can do to make that happen? Because in the future, I'd like my songs to be made with other instruments in a recording studio. Yeah, amazing. So you can use different audio workstations. I guess sort of official name. There's a few. There's Ableton and there's Logic. I do find Logic a little bit easier to use and is a good starting point. There's also GarageBand, which is a really good starting point if you've never recorded anything before and you just want to kind of get some ideas down. GarageBand is free, I believe, and you can try that out. There's everything. I'm definitely not claiming to be a sort of wizard producer, but everything that I've learned about that is honestly been from YouTube. So I've watched loads of YouTube videos on how to make certain sounds. Usually I'll probably record my guitar and vocal and then try and build the rest of the track around that. And also there's lots of, at the moment I know it's a bit tricky, but there is lots of studios out there that you can reach out to as well to get their sort of to go and record there as well. But trying it out yourself first, I really recommend it. It's really fun to be part of a song the whole process, I guess. What do you do when you're not happy with a song but you know what's missing? I know I need to stop, didn't I now? When you're not happy with a song but you don't know what's missing, again, talk to some people that you really trust and keep at it. Don't just settle. Like if you know something's not right, keep refining until you find out what what is sort of wrong with it, I guess. In terms of being easier to finish songs, setting that deadline can be really good. Setting that goal, and sometimes just the putting in, I like to put in sort of placement holder lyrics a lot of the times, so that then it feels like, oh, the song's finished, but I know I need to go back and get some of those lyrics out and kind of make it a bit better and improve it. But you've got that feeling of the song's finished, I'm just making some minor adjustments, and then I know I can sort of move on. Any tips on releasing music for the first time? Yeah, I was gonna touch on that quickly, I guess, but I think we need to go in a minute. But yeah, there's lots of different sort of distributors that you can use if you're an independent artist. One that I've used quite a lot is AWOW. There's also Emu Bands and DistroKid. So basically what you can do is you can upload your song there, and then they will distribute it to Spotify and Apple and Deezer and all those types of places. But it's good to look at what services they do first to make sure that it's right for you. And yeah, I guess make sure you've got your artwork and all that stuff. So make sure you've got your artwork and everything sort of ready to go, I guess. But how did you get into these songwriting camps? As I said before, I was sort of asked, I was invited to these songwriting camps, but the songwriting camp that I ran, I just organised it myself and sort of went along with it. But I think we need to wrap up now because we've got Finlay coming in next. But I really hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that was okay. I really loved chatting, and if anyone wants to reach out further, I am B Charlotte on all my social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. And if anyone would like a copy of the template or to chat about the songwriting camp or anything like that, then you can give me an email as well. It's charlottebmusic@gmail.com. If you fancy that fancy that too. But honestly, thank you all so much, and for all the questions. It's just amazing. So yeah, it really means a lot. So thank you to Keith as well for inviting me to this, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. See you later.